Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. XRP ETF approval could face major delay. Here's why. That's the headline from the Crypto Basic, and they ain't kidding, folks. We actually could be having to wait a little bit longer than we otherwise would, and there's a legit reason for this. And I know that there are going to be many in the XRP community who will be frustrated by this, and rightfully so. I mean, after XRP being artificially suppressed price-wise by the SEC for years, I get it. I was in the trenches with y'all. I understand. I totally get it. And the fact that there's, even under this administration, which is pro-crypto, the fact that there have been a couple delays in the XRP ETFs, getting a final decision on them, which should ultimately be an approval. I get it. That's frustrating. But I firmly believe it's coming. And it still could be potentially soon. I'll explain why. But either way, I'll just say this at the outset, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty. It's still coming. There are going to be multiple XRP spot ETFs approved, and even though there's a very real chance you could see a major delay here, like the Crypto Basic is being serious about that, even though that is true, it's very possible that you could still see approval during the final euphoric stages of this market cycle, which is what I'd hope for. It's just fuel to the fire then, which would cause XRP price to rocket even further, presumably. So things could still line up that way. But actually, wouldn't it be kind of funny if it takes longer to get to the euphoric stage of the market cycle when everything's taking off, and because of the delay, it lines up perfect? Wouldn't that be serendipitous? That would really be something. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And as far as those delays, yes, they're very real. I reported on them at the time. Here's one such example from August 18th of this year. It's from Cointelegraph. SEC pushes back decisions on Truth Social, Solana, XRP crypto ETFs. Womp womp. I know, I didn't like it either, but I understood it. Here's another example. This is from September 10th of this year. SEC delays BlackRock, Franklin Templeton crypto ETF decisions, and XRP absolutely, as you can see on your screen, was part of that as well. And so more frustration. But I understood why. I mean, technically it's speculation, of course, I acknowledge that, but it just seemed obvious to me that the reason that there were these delays is not some sort of tactic to irritate these firms that are applying for spot XRP ETFs. It's not like they had this secret intention all along of not approving them, but then just delaying it, and that's a tactic so that they don't have to deal with these firms as frequently, which, by the way, was the move. Going back to 2013, the SEC would just delay as long as they possibly could, and then no approval. And that was a tactic because then they have to wait until they can file again. It was just so they didn't have to deal with it because they knew they were going to answer no, but they didn't want to deal with it. That's not what's happening right now. As I speculated for months and months and months throughout pretty much this whole year, that I said that what is likely, since you have a pro-crypto SEC now, is that Paul Atkins at the helm, the SEC chair, given how pro-crypto is, he wanted to have industry-wide guidelines in place for crypto ETF approvals, and then he'd approve. So he wanted to have his ducks lined up in a row, and he likes to line up that particular avian creature, and then he'd approve, but not before that. And so the fact that you weren't seeing XRP get approved, not weird. In fact, there were no additional approvals for individual coins. We've seen some multi-coin approvals recently, and happy to report that, and XRP's in a couple of them. That's a big deal. It really is. But there hadn't been any additional individual coin approvals since last year, Bitcoin and Ethereum. But then you got this headline from September 18th. SEC paves way for crypto spot ETFs with new listing rules. And again, this is from September 18th, and I was very happy to make a video about this when this news broke. The Securities and Exchange Commission voted on Wednesday to approve proposed rule changes by 3 national securities exchanges, enabling them to adopt generic listing standards for new cryptocurrency and other spot commodity exchange-traded products. The commission vote removes the last remaining hurdle to dozens of new spot ETFs tied to cryptocurrencies ranging from Solana to Dogecoin, and of course XRP as well. And so that's it. We're waiting for generic listing standards. Once we have those, then you can see the approvals. And so that's the next step. But a little bit of a slowdown here. So as far as that, major delay, it's this. And this comes from Crypto in America. This is Eleanor Terrett's publication here. And she wrote this, that it's titled, Government shutdown puts crypto ETF approvals on ice. The government shutdown, but just to be clear, and I'm assuming most of you have heard by now, the United States government has shut down. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that every aspect of the government is shut down. Absolutely not. In fact, what's shut down is the stuff that matters least. Like, national parks are not accessible right now. But in terms of anything that is of core, like just absolutely emergency, crucial importance, that's all still running. It's not like we don't have a military that functions now, for example, right? There are just certain things that were cut, and it's stupid. It happens almost every 2 years. It takes a little bit longer than that, but on average, going back, there's been like 21 of these going back the last roughly 50 years. I highlighted whatever the actual stat was a few days ago, and it's just ridiculous. It happens all the time. It doesn't matter. I'm not interested in it, but it is having an impact here. This is one of the areas where we're getting impacted. The SEC is still open. It's running, but at diminished capacity. And here's what she writes. The government shutdown has slowed operations across most federal agencies, including the SEC, affecting its ability to greenlight long-awaited crypto spot ETFs. During a shutdown, the regulator can still act on fraud and market emergencies, but routine work slows. IPOs, ETFs, and other filings may be delayed. Rulemaking may pause, and non-essential staff are often furloughed. Because spot ETFs need a formal sign-off from the SEC's Division of Corporation Finance to begin trading, anticipated product launches like Litecoin, Solana, and XRP will likely be on hold until funding is restored. It's like a rain delay, said Eric Balkunas, senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg. Illustrating the point, when Crypto in America contacted the SEC for clarity, a spokesperson said the shutdown has limited their ability to respond to press inquiries. So they can't even answer if this is going to slow down the ETF. I think it's gonna. I think it's absolutely going to. That seems like a no-brainer. Earlier this week, the SEC asked partner exchanges of several crypto ETF issuers to withdraw their 19B-4 filings after approving generic listing standards. That's what I was talking about just a minute ago. Those September 18th generic listing standards got approved, which remove the need for individual filings. With these standards, crypto ETFs can go effective on a rolling basis, meaning a wave of launches could hit as soon as the shutdown ends. So now that the generic listing standards are in place, that absolutely is still going to happen. It's just that because the government shutdown occurred here, because, oh my God. Don't even get me started. This is not a political channel. If it were, oh my God, this is the part where I'd go off on a rant for like 20 minutes about the incompetency of those in Congress. But I won't do that because it's not a political channel. The shutdown, it's going to be a short-lived thing. It's going to come. We don't know for sure when it's going to end. It could take a matter of weeks. That would be within normal ranges. So you actually still could see this thing end in October, rather. And maybe there's some catch-up work as a result of that. So it's possible you could still see XRP spot ETFs getting approved this month. But because of this, there's a reasonable chance that it's going to get pushed back further. It could be November, could be December. I hope not December. But a little bit further out than otherwise would have occurred. I think that's well accepted. That's a virtual certainty at this point. But still coming. So it's not something we have to freak out about. But I did want you to be informed and understand why this is happening here. And then there was also this from XRP community member Chad Steingraber. He shared the post from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on X, their official account here, breaking the news that, hey, SEC is currently operating in accordance with the agency's plan for operating during a government shutdown. So there's a lapse in appropriations. So Chad Steingraber shared that and wrote, remember that the 2-Cream XRP ETF was not approved by the SEC directly. And I'll pause to note the XRP ETF that he's referencing there was a leveraged ETF product, not a spot product. So it's a different type of thing with different standards to get approved. But yes, the 2-Cream XRP ETF that was approved, I've covered that in depth. Their CEO said it's the fastest, most successful product they've had in their company's entire 16-year history. It was an XRP product, go figure. So just imagine what that means when you get an actual spot XRP ETF, because the demand for that's going to be way higher than this leverage product, obviously. And so that's what he's referencing there. And then Chad says, they reached the deadline and the SEC didn't approve or deny the listing, so it was automatically allowed. Silence is compliance. Well, not exactly. And Eleanor Terrett saw that post and kind of straightened this out. She reposted what I just shared with you from Chad Steingraber and wrote the following. Adding some context here for those asking if this applies to all ETFs, including the spots. The short answer is no. The 2 Cream XRP ETF holds treasuries, cash, and swap receivables, so it was registered under the 40 Act, meaning the SEC didn't need to actively approve it, just let it go effective. So let's pause there. A spot XRP ETF would be backed by actual XRP. The 2 Cream XRP ETF, and 2 Cream is the name of the company, that particular product, again, it's a leveraged product, and it holds treasuries, cash, and swap receivables, not XRP. So the spot XRP ETF is way more meaningful to us because that materially impacts the supply and demand dynamics for XRP. If a customer purchases a spot XRP ETF, the firm that is offering that ETF has to then go purchase XRP to back it. That's why this matters if you're an XRP. Anyway, and then Eleanor says, the SEC also generally lets futures ETFs go effective once the statutory period passes, rather than requiring a new active approval each time. Spot ETFs, though, are registered under the 33 Act as commodity trusts and do require explicit SEC approval before launching. So any new spot crypto ETFs, Litecoin, Solana, XRP, won't begin trading until the SEC can declare the S1s effective, likely after the government shutdown is over and the agency has returned to operating at full capacity. Yeah, so don't expect this thing to get approved until the shutdown's over. Then they have all of these ETFs have to be manually approved or denied. I think they're going to be approved, certainly the XRP ones. There's general listing standards. XRP is going to fall well within those listing standards. They're going to get approved. I would be shocked if that doesn't happen, honestly. I will blow a freaking gasket on this channel. I'll make a video blowing a freaking gasket on this channel if XRP spot ETFs get denied. It's just unfathomable in a pro-crypto administration here. I do not think there's like a snowball's chance in hell that happens. I would be shocked if that happens. So it's still coming. Don't flip out. Might have to wait a little bit longer. But who knows? Maybe it'll line up better that way as far as when the market rallies to its final euphoric blow-off top. We'll see. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.